Qui-Gon Jinn's actor Liam Neeson may have just hinted that a Kenobi continuation is actually in the works.
Mandalore!
As you all are probably aware of, there's been a lot of rumors going around for a while now that Kenobi Season 2 might be in the works. But we've seen a lot of contradicting reports from leakers hearing different things about what Lucasfilm is actually planning. And like I said in my last video, part of the reason all this info feels so mixed up might be because Kenobi isn't coming back as a series at all. It might actually be a movie. Well, now Liam Neeson was just asked about coming back as Qui-Gon Jinn in the Kenobi series, and let's just say his answer didn't clear anything up. Instead, it probably added fuel to the speculation fire. So I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but during all the press tours for the new Superman movie, David Corenswet, the actor playing Superman, is a huge Star Wars fan and has been bringing up Star Wars every chance he gets. And he's constantly drawing comparisons and referencing Star Wars. Like, this guy is a huge fan. And honestly, I need to see him in Star Wars one day. He reminds me a lot of Sam Witwer. But why I'm bringing this up and how it connects to the Kenobi story is because in one of those interviews, Cornsweat said he believes Qui-Gon should have been the one to train Anakin.
Obi-Wan ultimately is a boomer, and I hate to say it, but it's true.
Yeah, well, he wasn't the one who was supposed to train Anakin. That was supposed to be Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon had the experience and the instinct and and frankly the love, which, you know, in the Jedi Order is not terribly encouraged. But
right.
Qui-Gon went against the Order in feeling this great love for the kid and having this sense. And if it had been Qui-Gon, you know, it probably would have gone better. But that said, Obi-Wan is also justified because he made a promise to his dying master. He's got to follow through, and he cares about the kid too.
Well, right after that, in an interview with Screen Rant, Liam Neeson was asked if he agrees with the new Superman actor David Cornsweat that Qui-Gon should have been the one to train Anakin. And Liam Neeson just gave the simple answer of, "I'd love to." Which makes me think that either Liam Neeson is beginning to lose it, or this answer is a form of misdirection. Because this isn't even a coherent answer, it's not relevant to the question. Now, Screen Rant notes that Liam Neeson's comments were in reference to working with Jake Lloyd once again. And this kind of makes sense when you remember that Liam worked with Lloyd on The Phantom Menace and probably didn't interact with Hayden at all during Attack of the Clones, seeing how they didn't share any scenes together. And I think we would all love to see Jake Lloyd come back to Star Wars at some point. Now, when Liam Neeson was asked about the rumor surrounding Kenobi Season 2 and whether we'll see more of Qui-Gon Jinn in the future, Screen Rant notes that Liam Neeson skillfully dodged any comments about his commitment to Star Wars and gave an amusing answer saying, "Oh, has it? There's so many spin-offs, so I lost track." And if you've been following Star Wars news for a while, this pattern of deflection isn't new. Ewan McGregor denied involvement in Kenobi for years. Rosario Dawson brushed off the Ahsoka rumors right up until she was officially cast. And even Liam Neeson denied making an appearance in Kenobi before the series aired. So avoiding confirmation doesn't necessarily mean he's out, he just can't talk about it right now. Now, the article finishes up by saying, of course it remains to be seen whether Neeson was playing coy or whether he genuinely lost track of the many Star Wars spin-offs. Regardless, if Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 story does indeed happen, Neeson must return as Qui-Gon Jinn's Force Ghost, because Qui-Gon was the first Force Ghost after all, and appeared to his former Padawan in Obi-Wan Kenobi's ending. Given that Obi-Wan himself goes on to become a Force Ghost, it would make perfect sense for Season 2 to focus on the duo, with Qui-Gon teaching his apprentice how to become one with the Force after death. Now, it seems like even Screen Rant agrees with me. There's something going on with the continuation of Kenobi. You know, they picked up on Liam Neeson's not so subtle cues during the interview, grinning through the questions, giving vague answers that didn't shut anything down. But when you paired that with recent insider reports claiming Kenobi is in active development, it starts to feel like this might actually be real and something Lucasfilm is quietly moving towards. And honestly, I'm more convinced than ever that a Kenobi sequel is happening, and that Jeff Snyder's tweets about Season 2 not happening is all misdirection because the Kenobi sequel is actually going to be a movie. Now, if a continuation does happen, I think in general most of us fans are pretty burnt out when it comes to stories set on Tatooine. You know, almost every show has spent time there, and with the Book of Boba Fett, we never even left the planet, which is crazy to me. But let's be honest, there are still plenty of stories to tell on Tatooine, especially when it comes to the Force. For example, Star Wars Outlaws introduced a dark cave, which was an abandoned mine tucked away in the North Junlin Waste. You could easily expand that into something deeper, make it a Force nexus similar to the Cave of Evil on Dagobah, and tie its origins to the Rakatan Empire and have its creation caused by the Rakatan turning Tatooine from a lush tropical world into a scorched desert through orbital bombardment. And you can make it so this cave becomes the site of Obi-Wan's spiritual journey, a place where he confronts his past, his failures, and begins to learn the path to immortality from Qui-Gon Jinn. Now, every story needs a villain, but how do you introduce one without shoehorning Kenobi into risking himself being discovered again? Well, the greatest Star Wars stories are built on parallels, so instead of a direct confrontation, you show how Vader and Kenobi's journey mirrored each other. On one side, you have Kenobi preserving the legacy of the Jedi, show him quietly protecting and teaching Anakin's son Luke, all while learning the secrets to immortality from his master Qui-Gon. And on the other side, Vader is still hunting the last remnants of the Jedi, and you could show him tracking down missing Inquisitors, or even dive into the events of Vader Immortal, where he begins experimenting with Sith alchemy and tries to resurrect Padme. And I know a lot of us have been wanting and clamoring for Vader to have his own series or movie, and I think the key is you don't make Vader the protagonist, you show him through the eyes of others. That's when he's at his most terrifying, when he's a heartless robotic monster, and not a character we're meant to empathize with too closely. You know, Kenobi's continuation, there's so much more story potential that could be explored, and with it you could deepen both Obi-Wan's and Vader's arcs in ways that make their final confrontation and A New Hope be even more impactful. And if a Kenobi sequel does happen, there is no doubt in my mind that Liam Neeson would love to return. He's already reprised Qui-Gon in the Clone Wars and in season 1 of Kenobi. He's even said he'd love to work more with Jake Lloyd, and when asked about season 2, he didn't shut it down. And if you're going to tell the story correctly, you need Qui-Gon to return, just as Screen Rant mentioned, and not just as a cameo, but as a guide, as the voice that helps Obi-Wan become something more than a Jedi. And that's because Qui-Gon Jinn wasn't just a Jedi Master, but a philosopher, a spiritual rebel, and because of his beliefs, many within the Jedi Order saw him as a maverick, because he recognized the cracks in their philosophy long before anyone else was willing to. And this led him to clash with the Council because he refused to treat the Force like a set of rules. And while they were obsessed with structure, hierarchy, and long-term strategy, Qui-Gon trusted the living Force, the will of the moment, the energy flowing through all living things. He believed in instinct over protocol, compassion over politics. That's why he defied the Jedi Council to train Anakin. That's why he rejected their offer to join the Council. He didn't want a seat at the table, he wanted to walk his own path. And that path led him to something the Council had completely lost sight of, the deeper mysteries of the Force. Qui-Gon discovered ancient teachings from the Shaman of the Wills, knowledge the Jedi had long forgotten or dismissed. These weren't techniques for power, they were lessons in surrender and selflessness, and becoming one with the Force. And this allowed him to begin the training to preserve his consciousness after death, but he died before completing it. That's why in the Clone Wars, he's just a voice. He hadn't yet mastered the ability to manifest, but even in death he kept learning. He finished what he started, and by the time of Kenobi he was able to appear to Obi-Wan not just as a whisper but as a guide. Qui-Gon learned that immortality wasn't about escaping death, it was about transcending it. Qui-Gon didn't become a Force ghost because he was powerful, he became one because he was balanced, because he lived in the moment, because he trusted the Force more than he trusted himself. And Qui-Gon was only able to keep teaching in death because of the philosophy he lived. And as I mentioned, we need to see Qui-Gon train Kenobi in the path to immortality, because Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship shaped everything. Qui-Gon was the one who believed in Anakin's potential, but Obi-Wan carried out the promise after Qui-Gon's death. He trained Anakin, he watched him fall, and he shouldered that guilt. And their reunion in Kenobi wouldn't just be emotional, it would be symbolic. Obi-Wan could finally reach a place where he understands why Qui-Gon Qui-Gon trusted in the living Force. And Qui-Gon teaching Obi-Wan could show a passing of wisdom across generations, but this arc can only be completed if Liam Neeson returns as Qui-Gon Jinn. Let me know in the comments, do you think Liam Neeson was deflecting because a Kenobi movie is actually happening? Are you as convinced as I am that Kenobi will be returning as a movie? And if Qui-Gon does come back, what do you want the story to explore? And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed listening to me talk about Star Wars, make sure you subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video. May the Force be with you.